Hey everyone, it's Lauren. Welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about apartment hunting. Now I know around now is the time where college students and grad students alike are looking for housing. So I'm here to give you some information that I personally learned when I was hunting for my apartment and how to make this process quick, easy, seamless, and getting you the best apartment for your living needs. So if you're interested in that, then keep on watching this video. So these tips will especially help you if this is your first time hunting for an apartment as, oh my God, there's a bird on the balcony. Okay, anyway, but these will help you just to there's a lot of information to take. I will just say that up front, there's a lot of different things that you need to look into, and so this will help in a step-by-step guide on what information you need to be looking at and things that you might not have even thought about because you live in the comforts of a dorm or of your home, etc. So the first thing is to pick an ideal rent range, and you really don't want to step away from that rent range. Look at the area, see how much the average rent is and how much you personally are able to pay for per month, and really try to keep no more than $100 beyond that range. Sometimes, especially me personally, I had a certain range and I kept it flexible to $100 more, and I was able to find the perfect apartment that was a little bit more over budget, but it came with so many more amenities. So I would say try not to do anything over 100 to 200 out of your range. Number two is to really get in contact with realtors and also leasing offices in the area. And this is before you start hunting in depth. This is to kind of get an idea of what the renting range or the availability range is in that particular area, because it can change so drastically depending on where you are. If you're in a big city like New York, LA, Seattle, or anything like that, it's going to be roughly, you want to look 2 to 5 weeks before your move-in date. So it's a shorter period of time because there's so many people moving in and out. Whereas if you're in a smaller city, you would like to be in an area, or you would like to kind of look in a time frame a few months before, because the availability is a little bit more static. So keep in contact with these people. Try to get a few sources within the same area just to give you an idea of when you should be looking for an apartment. Because you don't want to get your hopes set on one place and then there's no availability when you're actually trying to move in. Tip number 3 is to look for an ideal commute time. Especially if you're moving off campus, you might have to pick an apartment that's a little bit further. So you have to kind of decide, am I going to bring a car with me? Am I going to use a bike? Am I going to walk, take public transportation? All of these things. That's a big factor because it's something that you have to do every day. So really try to look within the area of your ideal commute time. For me personally, I use Google Maps as there were a lot of apartment complexes near my school. So I was just looking in my radius to find an apartment complex that was ideal for my commute, which I was preferring walking. Another thing is to look if there's any bus stops right in front or around the block of your complex. Those are great things if you're looking to live a little bit further, but you would still like to have ease of commute. Number 4 is to make a spreadsheet. Before you get too far deep into apartment hunting, you want to make sure that you have everything organized. So if I can, I'm going to try to link a Google Docs that is kind of a template that I used when I was apartment hunting, and you can of course edit it and make it your own. But this is essential in trying to keep down all this information because you're going to be calling a bunch of different leasing agencies, a bunch of different realtors, and in a bunch of different neighborhoods or areas. So you really want to be able to keep track of all this information. Number 5, things to consider and to keep track of are landlords. What kind of landlord is it? Is it a couple who just wants to rent their home, or is it a huge rental agency? That really is something to ask around. If you can, ask students in the area or upperclassmen, because the landlords are your communication. And if you have a really crappy landlord, or they have so many properties that they don't manage properly, then that could be a big issue if you have any issues with your appliances, or if there's a noise issue, or if there's something that needs to get fixed in your apartment. So you really want to make sure that the landlords that you are renting from have a good reputation and to look into them beforehand. Another thing is the neighborhood, and that is in regards to safety, parking, just kind of the rent and the area. If the neighborhood has a lot of bars and stuff, if you like to wake up early and you like to sleep early, then that might not be a great mix for you. Also, just be concerned, you might be moving to an area that you're completely unfamiliar with, so make sure that it is a safe area, that if you do want a walking distance, that it is safe to walk at any time of the day. Number 3 is the rent, of course, and what's included in it. My biggest question was if heat was included within the rent, because water, the heat of the water and the heat in general in the building, that was something big for me because I am living in an area where there are 4 seasons. So if the heat was not included in the rent, then my utility bill can skyrocket at any point in the year, and I wanted to kind of have a stable number that I knew for my budgeting. So that could be something to definitely look into and see what's included in the rent and what's not. Another important thing is on-site maintenance. You do want to make sure that there is an on-site maintenance team, so in case that there are any issues that come about, they are handled in a properly and orderly time fashion. Another consideration is heating and AC. I know that I got really comfy and cozy with the heating and AC that were in my dorm and then my home when I lived there. So do ask those questions. I kind of overlooked that at first, and then I realized, oh my gosh, there might not be AC at all. So do see if there is air conditioning units in the windows or there's central air and what kind of heating is used to get an idea. You also want to link in the spreadsheet a link to the web page for it, and possibly if there's a virtual tour, link that as well, because that will be really great to reference later, as you probably will have a long growing list and you may forget specifically what the area or what the apartment looks like. Make sure to see if it's what kind of layout it is as well. List if it's a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, a studio, etc. You also want to know if there's an in-unit washer dryer, and if there is not, how much the cost of the washing and drying are on site, or even if there is washer and dryers on site, or if you have to go to a laundromat. These are important things because you have to do laundry pretty much every week, so that is another important consideration. Also, you want to list the contact information, like the leasing agency or the leasing agent's number, so you can always call back with any questions because they are more than willing to help. And the last 2 things are availability and amenities, so make sure to write down when the availability for the apartments are and what availability they have, as well as what amenities are included, and be sure to ask if there is an amenity fee. If there's a really nice pool, a sauna, a gym, but you have to pay like a super crap ton of money to pay for it, then that might not be the best place for you. So number 6 is any red flags. These are just a few red flags that I found, and there could be some more, so be sure to comment down below on any that you found when you're apartment hunting. And also be sure to give this video a like for all this apartment hunting information and if this is helping you, and also be sure to subscribe and click that bell notification so you're aware and notified whenever I post new videos on college, lifestyle, and productivity advice. But anyway, the red flags, whenever you hear the word cozy, that definitely means that it's a tiny place. If you do not see a lot of pictures of the windows, there might be a really ugly view that they're trying to hide, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. And then if there's more pictures of the exterior than the interior online, it's also a red flag because who knows what the inside looks like. Another tip, number 7, is to make a lot of phone calls, and don't be afraid to be in contact with these leasing agencies because they want you to rent from their place. So try to schedule video tours, get as much information about the considerations I listed previously, and don't be afraid to just get your phone out and call, because usually that's the best thing. Another thing is tip number 8, to avoid the first floor. This might be preference, but in general it's just not as safe as usual. And also when it comes to heating and AC, it just usually the first floor isn't the best. And also if you are in a busy college town, having a lot of people pass by on the streets and talking and making noise, so always trying to get the higher level floor if you can, the top level floor. But with that being said, do ask if there is an elevator or not, because when you are moving, if there are no elevators in the complex, then moving would be pretty difficult and you might have to gather around a bunch of your friends or even hire movers, which would be an additional cost. So do ask if there are any elevators if you do prefer to live on a higher level floor. Tip number 9 is to find all of the red flags beforehand and all of the cons. I know that the pictures can look really pretty and the realtors can seem really nice and all of that stuff, but really try to ask around with your friends, ask people who have lived there, or check online, or even just try to really ask good questions to see what the negatives are of the unit. Like if the parking is a bad situation, let's say they have off-street parking and they give you a pass, but there is barely any spots ever. That would be a really big struggle if you do decide to bring your car. If the parking is, they have a parking lot, but it's a lot of money per month. Just try to find as many red flags as possible, or even if there's issues with the Wi-Fi or, etc., water damage. Really try to find all the negatives beforehand so you can make an informed decision, because it can be really easy to get distracted by all the positives and overlook the negatives until you actually live there. And lastly, number 10 is to take a deep breath and don't act on impulse. Don't worry, the right apartment is coming your way. Just take a deep breath and keep on looking, and just make sure that before you jump into anything, before you put a deposit in, before you sign a lease, make sure to read everything and make sure to know 100% what you're getting into, because this is a place that you could possibly be living for the next year or so. So yeah, I hope all that helped, and I hope this gave you a great jump start into your apartment hunting, and I wish you the best of luck. If you guys have any other tips, be sure to leave them in the comments below, as well as any other video ideas. I have a lot of time on my hands now, so I'm really excited to provide more content to you all. But like I said, thanks again. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.